What are we doing again?
Building a balloon to the stratosphere?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, I'm with you now.
Has it really been that long since we did one of these podcasts that you forgot?
Yeah, it was like August.
Okay, in our defense though, we did go on vacation, then school started, then...
I know. Life happened. But at least we're back in the swing of things.
Right. So, what do we do now?
Throw some random funny pictures up and do something with this audio recorder.
Gentle?
What equipment?
Well, now that we're off to a good start, up till now we've been powering the instrument pack off of the laptop's USB cable. Now we need to test it running off batteries.
We selected the Energizer Ultimate Lithium batteries. We went with the lithium cells because they will last longer and are rated for use down to minus 40 degrees. We will make good use of both of these qualities on this flight. We started by hooking the instrument pack up and getting a fresh copy of the balloon sketch loaded onto the Arduino. Dad apparently thought it would help if you whistled.
I was not whistling.
Next, we took the instrument pack outside so it could pick up the signals from the GPS satellites and begin recording. After a couple of attempts, the GPS receiver started blinking, letting us know that it had finally found the satellites.
Now it was time to hit the road. Katherine here is mentally preparing herself for the journey.
The preparation is only needed when you're driving.
Hey!
Lucy, on the other hand, looks just thrilled to be here.
So we headed out.
Barely subsonic.
We headed out. Katherine was in charge of monitoring the instrument pack, making sure it was still receiving a GPS signal. Lucy was our navigator. She told us when to turn left or right and when to keep going straight. By the end, our instrument pack recorded over 1,100 data points. Here is our trip by the numbers. Temperature ranged from 20.6 to 30.7 degrees Celsius. That included our time outside on the porch, in the car, and then back in our house. Altitude ranged from 189 to 213 meters above sea level. We started at roughly 210 meters above sea level, so our trip had its ups and downs.
Oh, that was terrible.
Finally, here is a plot of our trip, based on the GPS data. It was a lot more mountainous than I remember.
That doesn't look right at all. Try zooming out.
Okay.
China? Dad, the GPS receiver gives us longitude and in positive values only. Since we're west of the prime meridian, we have to use negative values for the longitude.
I knew that.
Much better.
One of the things we were concerned about was how sensitive the GPS receiver was. Our early testing seemed to indicate we would be getting readings within about 50 feet of actual, and this trip confirmed it. We're using GPSvisualizer.com to plot these points. With a minimal amount of work to translate the data come off the GPS receiver, we can dump in a whole slew of points and it can plot them against Google Maps. The data coming off the receiver look like this. This is latitude and longitude, respectively. Each number has two parts, the number of degrees and the number of fractional minutes. As Katherine pointed out, we need to invert the sign on the longitude to get a valid coordinate for our hemisphere. Since we don't expect this balloon to make it all the way to the prime meridian in England, we should be able to do this for all of our data points.
The other thing we did with the battery pack was work out how we could have the instruments running in flight mode the day of the launch, but still be able to sample the data being collected. In other words, we wanted to make sure that we could hook up both the battery pack and the USB cable without damaging the Arduino by pushing too much power through it.
We started by disconnecting the proto shield with our instruments. We didn't want to take any chances of damaging our custom instrument pack.
Next, Dad modified the sample blink sketch to send the messages blink on and blink off to the serial port, which would act as our data to be sampled.
We then hooked up the battery pack and hit the reset button on the Arduino. After a couple of seconds, the onboard LED began to blink regularly. The sketch was running. Next, Katherine plugged in the USB cord and opened the serial monitor, and we saw our data.
I next tried disconnecting the USB cable, but the serial monitor stopped updating. That was to be expected. I then reconnected it, but the serial monitor didn't start updating again. I tried closing and reopening the serial monitor. That also didn't work. I then disconnected the cable again, shut the serial monitor down, and then reconnected the cable and started the monitor back up again. That worked. We'll have to add this procedure to our flight manual and make sure the monitor is shut down, hook up the USB cable, and then open the monitor. So, what's next on our plate?
Well, you and I are still working towards our ham radio licenses. We also need to get the camera configured. After that, we should probably build the radio transmitter, which will complete the instrument pack.
Then we can start on the capsule itself?
Exactly.
So, what happens now in the podcast?
Well, if I remember correctly, we would try to end by saying something funny.
Okay, well, say something funny.
Something funny.
Oh, the irony.